Welcome back to BookTone, the home of timeless wisdom and powerful ideas that elevate your mind and transform your life. In this video, we continue our deep dive into the revolutionary book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy, a classic guide that reveals how the thoughts you hold and the beliefs you reinforce in your subconscious shape your destiny. Your subconscious mind is like a fertile garden that grows whatever seeds you plant into it. And in Chapter 10, titled Your Right to be Rich, Dr. Joseph Murphy boldly asserts that wealth is not only a possibility, but a divine right, emphasizing that poverty is not a virtue, but rather a symptom of a subconscious mindset rooted in fear, guilt, or inherited limitation. And to reverse this, one must cleanse the inner thought patterns that associate money with evil or spiritual unworthiness. Because the law of the subconscious responds not to external struggle, but to the belief systems held with emotional conviction. Just as the law of gravity operates regardless of personal beliefs, the law of prosperity responds with mathematical precision to what is consistently held in the mind, whether abundance or scarcity. So Murphy encourages the reader to repeat affirmations like, "Wealth is mine, I am wealthy," not as blind superstition, but as a means of reconditioning the inner blueprint that shapes outer results. And he reminds us that true wealth is not greed but expression, not hoarding but circulation, because the subconscious mind interprets your dominant feelings as instructions. So if your emotional association with money is fear or resentment, you are unknowingly instructing your mind to repel it. Therefore, he urges you to bless others' prosperity and remove envy from your thinking, because such thoughts poison your own channels of receiving, and instead, by imagining yourself already in possession of wealth, by feeling the reality of financial freedom, and by visualizing it in detail without contradiction, you begin to align your inner world with the state you wish to experience. For the subconscious does not distinguish between real and vividly imagined, it simply acts, accepts, and expresses. Murphy warns against affirming lack by statements like, "I can't afford that," or "money doesn't grow on trees," as these become subconscious commands that create corresponding limitations. And he insists that wealth is not won by chance or external systems, but by mastering the inner laws of belief, clarity, and emotional alignment, where gratitude, generosity, and the expectation of good open the floodgates of abundance. And just as a farmer knows that sowing corn will not yield wheat, so too must one consciously sow the seeds of wealth if wealth is desired, knowing that delay in results is not denial, but a matter of subconscious depth. What is deeply impressed eventually expresses itself as reality. Therefore, consistent mental imagery, coupled with faith and feeling, becomes the true currency of financial transformation. And Murphy concludes that when you view money as divine substance meant to circulate and serve, when you internalize that wealth is your right, and when you release the inner conflicts that contradict abundance, your subconscious, faithful and neutral, will arrange conditions, guide decisions, and attract results that align with your renewed, empowered belief in your right to be rich. As you begin to practice these truths with sincerity and persistence, you realize that wealth begins not in your wallet, but in your mind. And Murphy clarifies that your subconscious is not bound by your current income, your past failures, your family background, or your formal education. It responds solely to the mental images you consistently hold and the emotional tone with which you affirm them. So when you continually affirm that wealth flows freely to you, that you are a channel of divine prosperity, and that money is a spiritual force used for good, you start to recondition your inner programming, and your external life begins to change in response, not because you're forcing anything, but because you are aligning with natural universal laws that govern success. And Murphy draws attention to how many people repel wealth by unconsciously linking money with guilt, corruption, or selfishness, forgetting that money in itself is neither good nor bad. It is neutral energy directed by the consciousness of the one who holds it. And when you truly understand that money allows ideas to grow, families to flourish, needs to be met, and opportunities to be created, you no longer resist it. Instead, You welcome it as a tool for contribution, creativity, and joy. And this inner welcoming, this mental acceptance of wealth as a blessing rather than a burden, begins to unlock the subconscious channels of supply that had long been closed off by fear, criticism, or inherited poverty consciousness. And Murphy notes that many people speak of wanting wealth, but internally feel they do not deserve it or fear it would corrupt them. And these contradictions within the mind cause delays, blocks, or complete reversals in financial progress. So it becomes essential to harmonize your conscious intentions with subconscious belief, because when the two are in agreement, the power is unstoppable. And Murphy also stresses the importance of repetition, not just mechanical, robotic repetition, but affirmation charged with emotion, faith, and imagination, because emotion is what imprints the subconscious most effectively. And through daily declarations like, "I am surrounded by divine substance, and it flows to me in perfect ways," combined with a vivid mental picture of yourself already enjoying the results, you begin to transform the deepest parts of your mental environment. And just as physical seeds need nurturing conditions, soil, water, sunlight, your mental seeds need emotional conviction, gratitude, consistency, and an unwavering expectation that the good you seek is already on its way. And Murphy advises that you eliminate all sarcasm, complaint, and worry about money, for these send contradictory instructions to your subconscious, confusing it and neutralizing the power of your affirmations. And instead of obsessing about how or when money will come, your focus should be on embodying the consciousness of abundance now, trusting that your subconscious mind will draw to you the ideas, people, timing, and channels necessary to manifest it. And you realize that your job is to believe, to feel, to act in alignment with wealth, and to allow the subconscious to orchestrate the rest, because it works 24 hours a day, even while you sleep, constantly building your reality based on the instructions you give it through feeling, imagery, and belief. And Murphy shares powerful real-life examples of people who moved from lack to luxury not by chasing money, but by changing their internal belief systems. The man who imagined himself signing large checks for joyful causes, the woman who visualized her bills stamped paid in full, the employee who affirmed daily, promotion and prosperity are mine now. And these stories reinforce the core truth that wealth is not created by chance, but by conscious cooperation with subconscious law. And when you choose to replace fear with faith, resentment with celebration, and doubt with inner certainty, you begin to command the creative power of your subconscious instead of being a victim of it. And slowly, without strain, your results shift, ideas flow more freely, decisions become clearer, new opportunities present themselves. And what once felt like hard effort becomes graceful movement toward your financial goals. And the more you relax into this process, the faster your results come, because anxiety signals the subconscious to block flow, while calm expectation signals permission to release. And Murphy repeatedly emphasizes that it is never too late to prosper, that your past mistakes do not define your future wealth, and that spiritual and material abundance are not at odds, they are partners, working together when you are aligned in consciousness. And as you progress in practicing this mental science, you'll see that wealth doesn't only mean money. It also includes richness of love, peace of mind, purpose, creativity, health, and meaningful contribution. And all of these are governed by the same laws. What you hold as true, feel as real, and reinforce consistently becomes your reality. And by reclaiming your subconscious as your ally in wealth, you stop seeking abundance outside of yourself and begin generating it from within with confidence, clarity, and peace. As this deeper understanding settles within you, you begin to realize that true riches start not in bank balances, but in mental frequency, that the vibration of abundance is created through your emotional state, your spoken word, your thoughts about self-worth, and your relationship with circulation, not hoarding or scarcity-based control. Murphy emphasizes that prosperity follows conscious expectancy, and you must train yourself to expect good things financially, not with desperation or neediness, but with calm confidence, knowing that your mental picture, energized by faith, is already being constructed in the unseen by your subconscious, and that whatever you impress upon it with conviction will seek expression in the outer world by law, not by chance. He explains that it is crucial not only to repeat affirmations such as "I am wealth," "I am abundance," but also to feel them as if they are already true, because feeling is the language of the subconscious and only. Emotionalized thought takes root in the soil of your inner mind. Murphy illustrates that your financial life is often a mirror of your unconscious conclusions about money, value, work, and worthiness, many of which may have been absorbed in childhood from parents, teachers, or society. And until these unconscious beliefs are exposed and written, they continue to operate in the background, producing results that match your hidden convictions. Thus, he encourages the use of conscious reconditioning, where you challenge limiting ideas like "money is hard to earn," "rich people are greedy," or "I'm just not lucky," and replace them with truth-based affirmations such as "money is the servant of the wise," "wealth supports my purpose," or "abundance is a spiritual law working in me now." And as you persist in implanting these new beliefs through mental repetition, emotional immersion, and visualization, you begin to see the shift, not because money falls from the sky, but because your actions change, your confidence increases, your ideas flow more freely, and you begin to notice and seize opportunities that were always there but previously filtered out by your mental blinders. Murphy urges readers to let go of envy, because resentment toward the wealthy blocks your own flow of abundance, sending signals to the subconscious that wealth is something you dislike. And since the subconscious must remain loyal to your dominant feelings, it will sabotage your progress. To remain consistent with that internal dislike, instead, bless the success of others and affirm that what God has done for others, He now does for me, because this mindset aligns you with circulation, not competition, with flow, not fear. And in shifting to this consciousness, you realize that abundance is infinite, not a limited pie, and your prosperity never takes from others. It only expands your capacity to contribute, create, and express your highest self. Murphy explains that the law of attraction operates as a subset of the larger law of belief, and that your life always reflects the ideas you accept as true, whether they serve you or limit you. And if you want to attract more wealth, you must first become mentally and emotionally comfortable with wealth. So he recommends daily periods of mental rehearsal. Imagine yourself receiving money joyfully, handling it wisely, giving generously, living peacefully, and allowing it to serve your higher goals without guilt or fear. And, over time, your subconscious will begin to accept this new identity, adjusting your thoughts, behaviors, and outer circumstances to match the inner picture you now hold. And the key is persistence without strain. Do not force the process, but nurture it gently with faith, repetition, and feeling, just as a farmer does not dig up the seeds to see if they're growing, but trusts the law of growth. Similarly, you must trust the creative intelligence of your subconscious, which works in harmony with universal law to manifest through channels both seen and unseen. Murphy also addresses common obstacles people face, such as sudden expenses, income blocks, or cycles of gain and loss, and explains that these are often caused by deep-seated beliefs such as "I always lose money" or "every time I earn more, something bad happens." And the solution is not panic but correction. Use your inner dialogue to reverse those patterns by affirming, "I am divinely guided in all my finances. Wealth flows to me in ever-increasing amounts from multiple sources." And as you impress that belief repeatedly, your subconscious receives it as a new instruction and begins to guide you accordingly. And in doing so, you shift from a life of financial survival to one of financial creation, where money becomes an extension of your consciousness and a tool to fulfill your mission, serve your values, and support the well-being of others. And when used in this way, wealth becomes not a cause for shame, but a sacred resource entrusted to you by divine law. And Murphy closes the chapter by reminding you that the power is not outside you, not in banks, not in bosses, not in governments or economies. It is in your own subconscious, which creates according to belief, and the question is not whether you can become rich, but whether you are willing to believe it deeply enough to allow it, release inner resistance, and act in alignment with that belief every day until your outer world reflects the abundance you have cultivated within. And as this deeper internal transformation unfolds, you begin to notice subtle shifts. Opportunities that previously seemed invisible now present themselves with clarity. Conversations naturally lead to collaboration. Creative ideas emerge spontaneously. And decisions become less stressful because you are no longer operating from fear or scarcity, but from an internal foundation of trust, flow, and abundance. And Murphy reaffirms that the wealth you seek already exists in the formless realm of ideas, insight, and possibility, and your subconscious mind serves as the bridge between the invisible and the visible, the inner and the outer, the imagined and the actualized. So when you consistently dwell in the feeling of abundance, mentally seeing yourself as already wealthy, emotionally experiencing the joy of sharing, giving, and living in financial peace, you align your inner world with the outcome you desire, and by universal law, the outer world must reflect that alignment, for the law of the subconscious is always working, whether you direct it consciously or allow it to be governed by random thoughts, fears, or societal conditioning. And Murphy reminds you that wealth is not merely having money, but having a prosperous consciousness, an inner sense of richness that encompasses joy, confidence, fulfillment, and freedom, because true wealth must first be felt before it can be sustained, and to feel it, you must permit it. You must stop apologizing for your desire to prosper. Stop labeling wealth as unspiritual or selfish, and instead embrace the truth that abundance is your birthright, your natural state, your divine inheritance, and you honor this truth by accepting that it's not only possible to prosper, it's necessary if you are to fulfill your full potential and contribute meaningfully to the lives of others. When you live in poverty consciousness, you're constantly consumed by survival. And when your energy is trapped in fear or limitation, you cannot focus on your creativity, your purpose, your impact, or your inner peace. But when you rise into abundance consciousness, you are free to serve at your highest level, free to give generously, and free to build a life that reflects not lack but spiritual alignment. And this shift from scarcity to sufficiency, from doubt to trust, from not enough to always more than enough, is the spiritual journey behind every financial miracle. And Murphy is clear that your subconscious responds not to occasional affirmations, but to your dominant mental environment, so your task is to make thoughts of wealth natural, habitual, expected, not forced or frantic, but relaxed and normal, like the air you breathe or the food you eat, because when you stop treating wealth as something outside of you and start recognizing it as something you already carry within, the vibration, the belief, the image, the world adjusts to match your inner certainty. Even when obstacles arise, you no longer panic because you know your source is internal and infinite, not external and scarce, and that any seeming lack is just temporary feedback that you are being invited to return to faith, to renew your mental picture, to realign with truth. And Murphy encourages you to keep reinforcing this mindset through morning declarations, quiet visualization, gratitude for all financial blessings, no matter how small, and mental rehearsal of successful outcomes, because every repetition strengthens the groove in your subconscious. And just like learning to play an instrument, the more you mentally rehearse wealth, the more skilled you become at attracting it, managing it, and using it wisely. And when wealth comes, as it must when the inner poise is consistent, Murphy reminds you to remain humble, grateful, and responsible, recognizing that you are not the source, but the channel. And as a channel, your purpose is to circulate good, not hoard it, not fear its loss, but trust its flow, use it for joy, service, and growth, and pass it on in ways that lift others. In doing so, your wealth multiplies, not just in numbers but in meaning, and you become a steward of abundance, not just a consumer of it. And this higher approach to prosperity liberates you from the endless chase and anchors you in true fulfillment. Because you no longer look to money for identity or security, you already have both within. And money simply reflects that inner wholeness in outer form. And finally, Murphy closes the chapter with the empowering reminder that the universe is always listening, always responding, always creating based on your instructions. So choose your thoughts wisely, speak of wealth as already yours, expect miracles without tension, act with generosity and wisdom, and above all, know that your subconscious holds the power to create any reality you dare to believe in. And when you believe in your right to be rich, not just as a desire, but as a truth, you activate forces far greater than effort alone, and your life becomes a reflection not of struggle, but a spiritual alignment, mental clarity, and the magnificent power of a mind trained to expect the best. As you deepen your understanding of wealth consciousness, you begin to see that prosperity is not the acquisition of things, but the revelation of your divine inheritance already present in your subconscious nature. And Murphy urges the reader to transcend superficial definitions of richness, such as large houses, luxurious cars, or visible displays of power, and instead focus on developing an inner abundance, a deep-rooted awareness that you are always connected to the infinite intelligence of the universe, and from that intelligence flows every needed idea, connection, opportunity, and supply. And he reinforces that money itself is a symbol, a medium, a channel. It is not the source, for the source of all abundance is spiritual and mental. And when the mind is aligned with truth, wealth flows as a consequence, not a pursuit. And so, to truly prosper, you must become wealth conscious, not money obsessed. Meaning you must identify more with generosity than greed, more with circulation than accumulation, and more with purpose than possession. Because the subconscious mind responds to your emotional relationship with wealth. And if you view it as freedom and creativity, it multiplies. If you view it as stress or shame, it eludes you. And Murphy gives clear practices to maintain this harmony. Bless your bills, feel gratitude for every transaction, give joyfully without fear of loss. And mentally affirm that every dollar you spend returns multiplied to bless you and others. 4. This mindset of trust activates the subconscious to open new financial doors, many of which may come through unexpected sources, ideas, people, invitations, or inner prompts. And your role is not to micromanage the how, but to maintain unwavering faith in the what, to let go of timing anxiety and simply plant mental seeds of success daily, knowing they must bear fruit in divine order. And he emphasizes that spiritual wealth and material wealth are not enemies but allies. And when you grow inwardly, developing wisdom, self-worth, peace, and contribution, your outer wealth becomes a natural extension. And when you see yourself as a vessel of divine substance, capable of both receiving and redistributing blessings, your life becomes rich beyond imagination, not just in possessions, but in joy, ease, purpose, and impact. And Murphy closes his message with a reminder that wealth is your right, not your reward, that you are not required to earn divine abundance through suffering or scarcity, but to accept it, align with it, and express it joyfully through your beliefs, your speech, your vision, and your actions. And in doing so, you claim your partnership with the greatest creative power in existence, your subconscious mind, and use it not just for personal gain, but for uplifting the world around you in love, freedom, and divine supply. You allow this truth to settle within you. It becomes clear that wealth is not something to chase anxiously or hoard nervously, but something to consciously accept, to cultivate through mental habits of abundance, gratitude, and trust. And Murphy reinforces that the subconscious mind, being impressionable and obedient, mirrors your dominant beliefs, not occasional wishes or fleeting emotions, but the persistent inner stories you tell about money, self-worth, and success. So, if you constantly affirm, feel, and imagine that you're poor, undeserving, or unlucky, your subconscious receives this as a command and orchestrates circumstances to to match that image. But if you begin to identify mentally as prosperous, to affirm "I am abundance," to visualize yourself generously giving and receiving, and to emotionally feel wealthy in the present moment even before any outer sign appears, then you send a powerful message to the subconscious that prosperity is your natural state, and from there, all of creation begins to shift in your favor. Murphy explains that it's not about working harder, it's about thinking rightly, because the one who is rich in consciousness will find that their work is fruitful, doors open effortlessly, and unexpected opportunities arise that seem like luck but are actually the manifestations of inner conviction. And those who struggle despite relentless effort are often unknowingly contradicting their goals with subconscious resistance, such as guilt over wanting money, fear of responsibility, or attachment to limiting beliefs learned in childhood. And until those inner barriers are removed, no amount of outer action can bring lasting wealth. This is why Murphy advocates for consistent use of affirmative prayer, visualization, and emotional conditioning, as these are the tools that reprogram the subconscious, turning it from a fearful saboteur into a faithful ally. And he encourages readers to maintain a journal of abundance thoughts, to start and end the day with prosperity affirmations, and to engage in daily inner dialogues that affirm, "I am a channel for infinite wealth, and all my needs are met in divine order." For as these words become emotionally charged and habitual, the subconscious begins to guide you in subtle ways toward the right people, ideas, solutions, and even moments of insight that change the course of your life. Murphy also addresses the spiritual dimension of wealth, asserting that true riches include not just financial abundance but peace of mind, meaningful service, health, love, and spiritual awareness, and that one must never sacrifice inner values in the name of outer gain, for such contradictions eventually destroy harmony and invite conflict. And he emphasizes that right wealth is ethical, joyful, and circulatory, not stagnant accumulation, but free flow through giving, creating, investing, and blessing others. And when you approach wealth with this attitude, your subconscious aligns with divine law and becomes a magnet for the right kind of success, the kind that brings fulfillment and inspires others. Moreover, he teaches that every act of giving reinforces your belief in supply. So even if your financial means are limited, giving a kind word, your time, or sincere appreciation activates the same principle, because the subconscious registers the spirit of giving and rewards it with expansion. And when you think, speak, and act as someone who has more than enough, you reinforce the mental identity of a prosperous person, and life begins to reflect that identity outwardly in countless forms: money, peace, love, connections, recognition, and joy. And so, Murphy urges you to ask yourself what thoughts you entertain most frequently about money. Do you associate it with stress, danger, or selfishness? Or with beauty, service, and peace? Because the quality of your dominant associations determines what your subconscious allows into your experience. And if you want to change your financial condition, you must first change your inner financial climate, cultivating warmth, openness, ease, and confidence in all money-related thoughts and feelings. And you do this not once, but daily, through meditation, affirmations, and emotional rehearsal, always planting seeds of faith in a generous universe. And always remembering that you are not separate from supply, you are part of its expression, a vessel through which divine abundance flows when the inner channels are cleared of fear and doubt. Murphy assures us that even if you have failed financially in the past, made unwise decisions, or suffered great loss, your future remains completely free. And the only thing you must change is your mental blueprint, for the subconscious does not care about past events, only current impressions. And the moment you begin to feed it with confident, joyful images of abundance, it responds faithfully and begins to rebuild your life with fresh energy, new people, and better opportunities. He gives stories of ordinary people, store clerks, office workers, retired individuals who began this practice of mental prosperity repeating simple truths like wealth flows to me easily and often, while imagining checks arriving, debts cleared, savings growing, and freedom expanding. And though it took time and repetition, each eventually experienced remarkable turnarounds. New jobs, unexpected inheritances, creative ideas that birthed businesses. And in every case, it was not out of luck, but inner change that led to transformation. The great secret is this: your outer world is plastic to your inner beliefs. And when your beliefs change, your reality must follow, because that is the law of the subconscious mind. And this law operates not by effort, but by alignment. Not by pushing, but by imagining, feeling, and surrendering with faith to a higher principle that always responds to your inner picture. Therefore, your right to be rich is not a privilege reserved for a few. It is a spiritual truth available to all who will receive it, affirm it, believe it, and live from it. And when you understand this, you stop waiting for circumstances to improve and begin improving your consciousness, because everything begins within. And as Murphy powerfully concludes, when you make your subconscious mind a garden of prosperity by planting seeds of faith, watering them with emotion, and removing weeds of fear, you will inevitably reap a harvest of visible abundance, not by magic, but by law, the divine law of your own mind that always creates according to the image impressed upon it with belief, repetition, and heartfelt expectation. And as you walk deeper into the realization that wealth is your rightful state of being, not something reserved for the lucky, the ruthless, or the few, you begin to dissolve the inherited myths that once held you back. The idea that suffering is noble, that money corrupts, or that desiring more is somehow selfish or wrong, and you recognize that these beliefs were never universal truths, but rather mental hand-me-downs from family, culture, religion, or painful past experiences. And as these distortions dissolve in the light of new understanding, your subconscious is freed from their command, no longer bound to manifest conditions that match guilt, unworthiness, or false virtue, and instead begins to orchestrate a new experience that reflects clarity, self-trust, and spiritual openness to receive. Murphy insists that the desire to be rich is not only natural, it is divine, because your desire to expand, create, and express life fully is a reflection of the infinite intelligence within you seeking fuller expression through you. And when you suppress this desire, you do not become spiritual. You become restricted, often bitter, resentful, or exhausted from trying to justify why you must remain small in a world that was built on growth, movement, and expansion. And Murphy says true spirituality is not found in lack, but in responsible abundance, where money is used as a tool for good, a medium for healing, a way to uplift others, and a symbol of your inner alignment with life's generous nature. And when you begin to think this way, your thoughts no longer repel wealth, but magnetize it. Because now your subconscious is no longer getting mixed signals, it receives a clear and consistent message. Wealth is safe, wealth is good, wealth is welcome, and in response, it starts bringing people, ideas, guidance, and circumstances that reflect that internal harmony. The more you feel deserving, not arrogantly, but humbly, with trust, the more easily wealth flows into your life in unexpected and graceful ways. And even setbacks become stepping stones, because you no longer see temporary lack as punishment, but as feedback to realign your thoughts, reinforce your vision, or let go of subconscious fears that were once invisible to you. And Murphy emphasizes the power of repetition here again, saying that just like water wears away stone, your repeated affirmations, visualizations, and gratitude exercises gradually erode the old subconscious conditioning, replacing it with new mental blueprints rooted in truth and wholeness. And over time, without strain, your identity shifts. You no longer see yourself as someone trying to become wealthy, but as someone who already is rich in essence, in vibration, in consciousness, and the outer world catches up to that truth with mathematical precision. And in this evolved awareness, you no longer chase money to feel secure or validated, but allow it to come as a reflection of your value, clarity, and service. And this shift removes anxiety from your decisions and replaces it with inspiration, so you begin taking action not from fear of missing out, but from the joy of expressing your gift, solving problems, helping others, or building something meaningful. And this is when the subconscious becomes not just a passive servant, but a co-creative force guiding you toward your highest expression, helping you recognize ideas others miss, make decisions with intuitive ease, and stay aligned with purpose even when challenges arise. And Murphy reminds us again, the subconscious is never far, it is always listening, always working, and always obedient to your dominant emotional impressions. So the key is not to manipulate outcomes through force, but to feel the desired state so consistently, so richly, and so confidently that your subconscious accepts it as reality and works day and night to make it so. And this inner shift is not just psychological, it is energetic, spiritual, and magnetic, for the world around you is shaped by the world within you. And when you stop waiting for outer proof and start generating inner conviction, you rise above circumstance and become a master of your financial destiny, using your subconscious as the engine of all achievement. And Murphy offers this vision not as theory, but as principle, backed by story after story of ordinary individuals who changed their lives by changing their minds, people who stopped saying "I can't" and started saying "it is possible," who stopped fearing bills and started blessing every dollar that passed through their hands, who turned their minds into gardens of abundance and reaped the rewards in business, healing, relationships, and inner peace. And the greatest of these stories is always your own. Because the moment you begin to live this truth, your life begins to speak it louder than any words ever could. And as this awareness becomes not just a mental idea but a felt reality, you begin to see how every financial limitation you've ever faced was not a punishment or proof of inadequacy, but an echo of a belief you once held, perhaps unconsciously, perhaps inherited from family or reinforced by early experiences, and you realize now, with empowering clarity, that you are free to release those beliefs, to no longer live as a reaction to the past, but to become a conscious creator of a prosperous future, starting not from bank statements, but from mindset. Because Murphy teaches that your subconscious mind is the perfect builder it creates based on exact specifications given to it through consistent thoughts and emotions. And if you impress upon it that you are poor, unworthy, or undeserving, it must carry out that command with ruthless efficiency. But if you now begin, even quietly and gradually, to say and feel, "I am divinely prosperous, wealth is flowing to me now, money is freedom and I am free," and you do so not once in panic, but daily in peace, then your subconscious receives a new blueprint to act upon, and it begins to open channels, attract opportunities, and guide your intuition in ways that align with the image you've planted. And so your task becomes one of inner cultivation, of choosing thoughts that match the life you want, rather than thoughts that mirror the life you fear. And you must do this not with stress or desperation, but with trust and steadiness. Because just as a farmer does not scream at the soil to grow crops overnight, you must give your new beliefs time to root and mature, and during this time, you stay faithful, not to your circumstances, but to your vision, holding fast to the inner image of wealth and success you've chosen, and gently but firmly dismissing any old voice that tries to contradict it, saying instead, "That was the old me, I now align with abundance." And Murphy affirms that this kind of mental discipline is not hard when it becomes habitual, when it becomes a sacred act of self-respect, a way of honoring your birthright to prosper. And as this habit grows, your entire life begins to reflect it in tangible, visible, and sometimes even miraculous ways. Debts dissolve, incomes grow, new clients arrive, old blocks vanish, and most importantly, your inner state becomes peaceful, trusting, and empowered, not because the outer world changed first, but because you changed inwardly and the outer world had no choice but to follow. For the subconscious must obey the beliefs it is given, and once you feed it faith, wealth, and expectancy, it begins arranging your reality to match that vibration in ways you could not have calculated or controlled. But you don't need to control it, because your job is not to do the work of the subconscious, but to instruct it clearly, consistently, and confidently, and let it do what it does best. Stand as you continue to reinforce this truth, that wealth is not a lucky accident, nor the result of chance or privilege, but the byproduct of sustained, focused inner conditioning. You begin to see money and success no longer as distant goals, but as natural expressions of your inner world. And Murphy drives home the importance of emotional ownership, insisting that it is not enough to speak about abundance while internally feeling fear, shame, or doubt about it, because the subconscious listens not to words alone, but to the emotional charge behind them. So when you say, "I am prosperous," you must feel prosperous, feel the lightness, the confidence, the generosity, the ease that comes with true abundance, and let that feeling become your new normal, your baseline, your default mood. Because in doing so, you are not only reprogramming your subconscious, but shifting your entire vibration. And this new frequency will inevitably attract matching circumstances. Just as a radio, tuned to a certain station, can only receive that signal, and Murphy encourages daily rituals to stabilize this frequency. Begin each morning with gratitude for financial blessings, both present and future. Meditate on visions of overflowing supply. Write or say affirmations that speak to your worth and wealth. Bless others who are prosperous as reflections of what is possible for you. And end each night with forgiveness and the declaration that tomorrow brings more abundance. And over time, this mental and emotional reconditioning begins to compound, just like compound interest, creating an ever-expanding current of prosperity consciousness that soon touches every part of your life, not only in money, but in peace, relationships, health, creativity, and self-worth. Because when you allow the subconscious to believe in your right to be rich, it does not just stop at finances, it uplifts your entire being, reshaping your decisions, refining your perception, and guiding you with intuitive nudges and subtle insights that seem coincidental but are in truth the echoes of your inner convictions returning to you in form. And Murphy highlights story after story of people who, once they stopped identifying with limitation, began to thrive in business, attract loving partnerships, heal physical issues, and discover purpose, all because they aligned with the principle that abundance is not earned, but allowed, and that success is not something you chase, but something you align with by becoming mentally and emotionally one with it. And so you learn that it is no longer about what you do, but how you do it, and more deeply, from what state of consciousness you do it. Because a fearful entrepreneur repels customers, while a confident one attracts them without trying. A stressed investor loses money, while a relaxed, focused one makes wise decisions. A person who feels worthy will spot opportunities others miss, will walk into rooms with grace, will charge what they're worth, and will build networks rooted in value and trust. And all of this stems from the subconscious beliefs they carry about money, worthiness, and power. And so the invitation is clear. Stop focusing only on strategies, numbers, or effort, and begin cultivating the inner cause that generates those outer results. And the cause is belief, emotion, and imagination combined. Belief that you are inherently abundant, emotion that you are already living in that wealth, and imagination that rehearses the vision until it becomes your felt truth. And as you maintain that inner world, the outer one reshapes with perfect timing, and what once seemed miraculous becomes normal, because it is simply the law of belief fulfilled, the subconscious carrying out its instruction. And Murphy is adamant that this is not fantasy or magical thinking, but the operation of spiritual and psychological law that is as real and precise as gravity or electricity. And once you understand this, your only remaining task is to trust it, use it daily, and persist until your life reflects what your mind has claimed. And even if fear returns, even if doubt creeps in, you do not panic. You recognize it as residue of old programming and return to the truth, declaring once more, "I am aligned with infinite supply. I am one with divine abundance. Money flows to me freely. I am a channel for prosperity. I am rich in every sense. And as you live from this space, moment by moment, thought by thought, word by word, you become the embodiment of abundance itself, no longer hoping for wealth, but radiating it, no longer fighting for success, but attracting it. And in doing so, you uplift others around you, not by preaching, but by example, by living proof that wealth and spirituality are not opposites, but partners, that faith and fortune can coexist, and that when the subconscious mind is respected, trained, and trusted, it becomes the greatest ally in your journey toward not only financial success, but holistic, soul-aligned richness that nourishes every part of your life and allows you to give, build, and thrive not with guilt or greed, but with grace, vision, and fulfillment, knowing now, fully and finally, that your right to be rich was never a question of chance, but a law waiting for your belief. Thank you for joining us on this powerful journey into your right to be rich. Remember, wealth begins not in your wallet, but in your thoughts. Train your subconscious with love, belief, and abundance, and life will mirror your inner truth. Keep growing, keep believing. Your abundance is already within you. If this message inspired you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more life-changing book summaries and soulful content. Stay connected, stay abundant, and as always, we're here to remind you. You are worthy. You are enough. You are already rich.